can hear me. It does not look like what I was intending to use is planning on working. So I am going to be over voice today.
I'm sorry.
It's okay, it's not your fault. It's my software acting up.
Give it the boot.
So we are going to be reading Chapter 6 from Writing Magic, Creating Stories That Fly, written by Gail Levine, who was also the author of Ella Enchanted. And then we will discuss that a bit. And then depending on how much interest there is, we can continue into the next chapter after that or call it for the week. So this section is on noticing. And she says, once every hour tomorrow, pay special attention to your senses. What do you hear? Maybe your dog is barking or the television is on. Maybe your teacher is speaking. Listen to his voice. Is it deep and rumbly, or is it a middle tone and clear? Listen for random noises. A branch knocking into a window pane, the house settling, the occasional honk of a car horn. Perhaps, like here at my house, the cats or the dogs are knocking over something they shouldn't be able to get to at all, but it happens anyway. Write down what you hear, even the tiniest, most ordinary sounds. If you can't write them down instantly because your teacher is handing out midterm exams or because you're brushing your teeth, remember and write them down as soon as you can. And if you are brushing your teeth, write later how that sounds. Don't ignore a sound just because you're making it. What do you taste? How does that toothpaste taste? Does it tingle? Do you like it? We taste more than food. We may wake up with terrible tastes in our mouths. If you've ever had a cut in your mouth, you've tasted your own blood. I have a bad habit of chewing on the ends of pencils, so I know the flavor of pencil wood. You're probably not eating every hour, so notice the tastes of your next meal. And not only the tastes, but also the feeling of the food in your mouth. Hot, cold, wet, dry, mushy, solid. Eat something you hate. Pay attention to what you don't like about it. Then eat something you love. Pay attention to that too. Write it all down. What do you smell? Scents get inside us in ways that sights and sounds can't. Scents can make us remember other times, other places. An odor can make us choke or sneeze or even run out of a room. I'll never forget the smell of pond scum on our dog Jake after he went swimming. More pleasantly, the scent of a pie, more than the sight of one, can make us hungry. So do you smell anything? You may not. Humans don't have a very strong sense of smell. Generally, I'm going to butt into her writing again because my mother has a very strong sense of smell and I had a very strong sense of smell. But I'm also going to give the caveat that my vision sucks, so I've learned to not rely on that as much. Returning to it, if you don't smell anything during the first hour, keep trying. Maybe next time you'll catch a whiff of garlic on someone's breath, or a woman nearby will be wearing perfume. Or, if you live in the country as I do, you'll smell a skunk. Write that down. What do you feel? Wherever you are, touch something. Touch your blue jeans or something else you're wearing. Is the cloth soft or stiff? If you're at your desk, touch the tabletop. Is it warm or cool? If it's made of wood, is the wood smooth or grainy? If it's your desk at school, and it's like my desks when I went to school, something's been carved into the wood. Trace the carving. Go to a sink and run your hand under the tap. It's hard to describe what water feels like, but see what you can do. Try writing a poem about the feel of the water. What do you see? Are you somewhere brightly lit, or so dark you can barely see? Is the light yellow in tone, or is it white? Pay attention to colors and shapes. Does what you're seeing have an emotional effect on you? For example, seeing a stain on my favorite t-shirt would annoy me, but seeing a friend's face can make me happy. If you're in a familiar place, see if you can spot something you never noticed before. Then see if you can spot a second new thing, and write them down. Humans may not be great smellers, but we are great seers, so you should have lots to write about what you see. Okay, you've done it. You've recorded a day's worth of sensations. Now, here's why I wanted you to do it. When you tell readers what your characters are hearing, tasting, smelling, touching, and seeing, then your readers will experience it all too, and they'll be drawn into your story. Butting in again, a great example is the Ready Player One, what Sweet Wolf has been reading. That immerses us because of all the different details that are put in the writing. This passage from Jacob Have I Loved by Catherine Patterson. It puts me right there in the marsh with the body of Sarah Louise Bradshaw, continues Gail. As a child, I secretly welcomed the first warm ray of spring by yanking off my shoes and standing waist deep in the cordgrass to feel the cool mud squish up between my toes. I chose a spot with care, for cordgrass alone is rough enough to rip the skin, and ours often concealed a bit of curling tin or shards of grass or crockery or jagged shells not yet worn smooth by the tides. In my nostrils, the faint hay smell of the grass mingled with that of the brackish water of the bay, while the spring wind chilled the tips of my ears and raised goosebumps along my arms. So that was the example that she chose of a piece of writing that engages all the senses. She closes out the chapter with another suggestion for a writing exercise. Use the point of view of a young puppy or kitten who somehow, miraculously, is able to think in English. The puppy or kitten is new to seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching. He doesn't know what anything is or what anything means. He's in the same room you're in right now. His mother and his littermates can be there too if you like. Describe what his eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and paws tell him. Does he understand everything, or does he misunderstand some things? After you've described his first moments, imagine what happens next. Turn it into a story. Remember to put in sensory information as you go along. And remember to have fun and save what you wrote. And that's where she ends that chapter. Did anybody have anything that was sparked by the section? Any input at all?
I'm afraid that I had to go to the little boy's room, but I did catch some of what you said. The assignment is to have a animal who suddenly speaks English be able to just senses.
Correct. And if you would like to have that written down, if you look back on the table, boxes over there that have all the scrolls in it, that should have some note cards with the different sections up to date, since my inventory is not wanting to bring up my copies. Oh wait, there it goes. Box over there on the table should also have the next segment in it too. on voice, I thought it was interesting that she asked for people to consider things from an animal's point of view. Does anybody think that it would be any different from our point of view? Or from that of a...
I really do, because you basically start off as nothing. It's kind of hard to put into words what it is that you are. You don't understand the words.
That makes sense. 'Cause I wasn't quite sure what to use word-wise for my thoughts on that either, because I could see how it would be different. Like if you're a dog or a cat, your brain functions differently from a human. You focus more on different sensations first. Like the kittens, they're born with their eyes closed, so their nose and their paws are pretty much all that they can really tell what's what with until they lick something.
Mm-hmm. There was a certain story, I forget the name of it. It was about a wolf, if I remember correctly. It wasn't Balto, it was a different name. Eventually grew up and then ended up being with a human master.
If you ever remember what that one was called, please let me know. I'd like to read that. It sounds like
It's supposed to be an American classic, along the lines of Black Beauty.
I will have to look for that. I know I liked White Fang, but that's definitely not it. And that was interesting. But...
Another example would be Black Beauty by Sewell, which is basically about a horse, and it's narrated in the first person, being an autobiographical memoir told by a horse.
I completely forgot that one was written in first person. It's been years since I read that one. I will have to read.
Here's the Wikipedia link. Yeah, I haven't seen... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I have not seen this title since elementary school, actually.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my daughter has this one currently on her bookshelf. I gave her the copy that I had in school. So, if it's not there, then that means it's back at Mom's place.
And to clarify, this is a British book. It's a British novel.
And their writing is different in many ways from American writing.
I've always read it as if it was written by an American. I mean, there was no difference unless the book I was reading was a re-edit or an Americanized version.
That could be, because I know that I've read... I can't remember the titles of some of these stories, but I know that I've read British versions... Oh wait, Harry Potter!
Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
Yes. If you read the British versions and then read the English versions, there are subtle differences in the way things are phrased and the way that the images she's trying to get are conveyed. And most of it is just based in the words that they use, but then there's also the ways that they just use the words they use. Is I think what I'm trying to say.
I completely understand what you're saying. In Prisoner of Azkaban, where they first meet Luna Lovegood, I think it was, on the train. Okay, Ron says this very British mannerism, taking the mickey. And I didn't understand what that meant.
Yep, taking the mickey or taking the piss. And yeah, that's just something that did not get translated all that well into the American version, where it's a bit like poking fun at, but it's a different way of looking at it. And this is frustrating me that I can't convey all the little nuances that had been explained to me by a friend of mine that is British. Because it's... I wish he was here right now. That would help a lot. But it's something that if you hear it used a lot, then it kind of gets ingrained into the back of your head. If that makes any sense.
I suppose. Something that's culturally understandable.
Yes.
Perhaps Wikipedia has a way that they've categorized the book I'm looking for that describes, so I can see what the name of the book is to look at the first part of the series, or that book, chapter in particular.
That's a good example. I did not know what a bureau was until just this moment.